What up, everybody? It's the Rottweiler Patriots. I'm Vegas.
And I'm T-Bone.
And we're coming at you with another video today where we're going to predict who we think wins each week 4 matchup. Last week, I went 11-5, and my compatriot here, T-Bone, went 12-4, so good weeks for both of us. T-Bone outdid me by 1. The only game we disagreed on, Titans-Browns. He picked the Browns. They won, so congratulations to you for winning last week, T-Bone. I do remain ahead by 1 game in the overall standings through 3 weeks. We are going to be competing throughout the entirety of this season. Feel free to follow along. Post how you did in the comments. Please don't cheat. Please actually tell us how you did. You know, it'll be fun to see maybe if one of y'all's able to show your predictions, predict who you think wins. Maybe we'll do something. I don't know. Haven't figured that out yet. But feel free to let us know in the comments who you think is going to win this week. And with that out of the way, let's jump right into it. Starting off with Thursday Night Football, we've got the Green Bay Packers hosting the Detroit Lions. The Packers coming off of a comeback win over the Saints where they were down 17-0, and then Derek Carr got hurt. Regardless, still a much-needed bounce-back win for Green Bay, whereas the Lions coming off of a win over the Atlanta Falcons, the team who Green Bay lost to the week before. So just given that, even though this one is in Lambeau and divisional games can get weird, the Lions I do think are the favorites to win this one. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Completely agree. I got the Lions. Now, the Packers are good. I thought that the Packers would not be as good, and the Bears would be better, but I am seeing clearly now that the Packers are, in fact, better than originally thought. But I still got the Lions. They're just a more complete, better all-around team. Although the Packers are a quite complete team themselves, this will be a close matchup. I'm excited for these 2 divisional games against each other. But even though the Lions are going into Lambeau, I got the Lions.
I have the Lions as well. They've generally been able to defeat the Packers in recent memory, and without Aaron Rodgers, I think the Lions have the edge. Alrighty, up next we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Atlanta Falcons. The Jaguars coming off of a humiliating blowout loss to a team that they were expected to beat in the Houston Texans. They have not had the start to the year that they have wanted at all. 1-2, only beating the Colts, losing to the Chiefs, not great for them. They desperately need a bounce-back win here. Whereas the Falcons had a better-than-expected start to the year. Upset the Green Bay Packers, a game they weren't supposed to win. Did lose to the Lions last week, but overall playing better than expected, so this one does have the potential to be a very interesting matchup. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree, Vegas. I mean, both teams have gotten a couple of wins, and both are looking not great, but they could both play good and play better. Jags need this win a little bit more than those Falcons do, and they're going into Jacksonville, so I got the Jags. I think they need this win, and they're going to get this win.
I think the Jaguars are going to win this game as well. I think they're the better football team, and I think this is a game that they themselves need for themselves. Alrighty, up next we've got the Indianapolis Colts hosting the Los Angeles Rams. The Colts coming off of an upset win over the Baltimore Ravens in overtime, a game they were not expected to win. Anthony Richardson out with a concussion. Gardner Minshew steps in, does what he needs to do, gets the job done. Now, a little bit of help from the refs in overtime. The Ravens most certainly probably would have won the game. But regardless, Colts got the win against a good football team. Credit where credit is due. Whereas the Rams looked like they fell off this past week against the Bengals. Didn't play nearly as well as they had weeks 1 and week 2. And so they're going to want to bounce back here. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Richardson's going to play or not. And I'm a big fan of Gardner Minshew. One of my hottest takes of all time. It was right after the 2021 season. And I said that Gardner Minshew was better than Jalen Hurts, and then Jalen Hurts proceeded to play like an MVP. So, I'm pretty high on Minshew mania. That being said, the Rams. It's just the Rams. Better everything.
I do think
Better.
the Rams have the advantage in this one, but I think the Colts can make it close. Alrighty, up next, we've got the Cleveland Browns hosting the Baltimore Ravens. The Browns coming off of a blowout win over the Tennessee Titans, where they looked better than they did in weeks 1 and 2. Deshaun Watson, despite a really weird and ugly play where he just kind of yeeted the ball backwards instead of taking a sack to lose his team way more yards, looked good. Looked better than he has basically since he came back to the league. So whether or not he'll be able to stay consistent with that, who knows. Whereas the Ravens coming off of an upset overtime loss to the Colts, a game that they, regardless of the missed call in overtime, should have won. Definitely a disappointing performance for them. Obviously injuries are a bit of an issue, but they're still a good football team, and AFC North matchups are always entertaining games. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a closer game than people think. And although I'm not as high on the Ravens as a lot of people think, they should be, I got the Ravens. They just are more put together, and it is Lamar Jackson. I think that the Browns are going to take steps forward, but I still have the Ravens. Just in total, they're just better, and I've got them.
I have the Ravens winning this game as well. Despite it being in Cleveland, I think they're going to have the edge in this one. These games always are really fluky in the division. That's just how it is with the AFC North and really divisions in general. Alrighty, up next we've got the Carolina Panthers hosting the Minnesota Vikings. The Panthers, starting off 0-3, fell to the Seattle Seahawks last week. Honestly, not expected to win any of their first 3 games or many games this year, but still a good showing despite the loss against Seattle, and they're hoping to build off of that. Obviously, don't know what the story with Bryce Young is going to be this week. Is he going to start? Are they going to put Dalton back in? Who knows? But the Vikings, who are coming off of a tough loss to the Los Angeles Chargers, where their own fans literally cost them the game, still couldn't get out of their own way with turnovers, They've shown signs they can be good, but it just hasn't been enough. So this one can be entertaining, but I still think advantage Vikings. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Oh, yeah. No, I've got the Vikings on this one. I mean, I think that they can make it. They can make it close. The Panthers can. I love my boys, but I mean, for the love of Pete, safety Xavier Woods, cornerback C.J. Henderson, linebacker Frankie Louvu, they're all out. Jonathan Mingo going through concussion protocol, and Frike said wait until Wednesday for Bryce Young. So we're gonna wait a couple. We're gonna wait till tomorrow. But they can certainly make this game close, especially with how Kirk's playing. I have the Vikings. They have Justin Jefferson. That's just a fact, and we can't out Jay Jetta's the Jetta.
I agree. I think the Vikings have this one as well. I think they're the better football team, and honestly, I think they really, really need to win this one, and they're going to be highly motivated too. Alrighty, up next, we've got the Tennessee Titans hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. The Titans coming off of a disappointing loss last week to the Cleveland Browns, where they just didn't look good at all, despite looking pretty solid weeks 1 and week 2. They're obviously going to want to bounce back, hosting another AFC North team, whereas the Bengals got their first win of the season over the Los Angeles Rams last week. A game that they were the underdogs in, but showed up in the icy white uniforms and injured Burrow. Went out there, did what he needed to do. Bengals got a win. So this one could be a very interesting one. T-Bone, your thoughts?
And we're looking at a 2021 divisional revenge game. I mean, we're the AFC top-seeded Titans, the wild card Bengals. This is definitely not going to be that type of game. It's certainly going to be a little bit harder to watch. But I've got the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow's going to get his crap together a little bit. I think the Bengals are playing better football, and I've got the Bengals. Titans are not going to be able to come up with this one.
I've got the Bengals winning as well. I just think they're the better football team, and just based off of how the Titans played last week, I got to give this one to the Bengals. Alrighty, up next we've got the New Orleans Saints hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Saints lose Derek Carr last week, which led to them giving up a comeback defeat to the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, some questions about that defense. Regardless of Carr being absent towards the end of the game, the defense still has to get the stops there. So, still a decent team, but definitely a lot of questions, and they're going to be wanting to bounce back, even with Carr likely being out and Winston having a start. Whereas the Buccaneers, coming off of a tough loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, a game they weren't really expected to win. I think they would have liked to have performed a little bit better in it, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Their defense held up all right, but both teams coming off of tough losses that they're going to want to bounce back from. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game, especially without Carr, most likely. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a hard game, hard fought. But I've got the Saints edging this one out. I mean, really, Jameis has played before. I mean, he's not playing great, but really, when has he ever played bad? All he does is play good. You want a man that throws 30 picks, 30 touchdowns, that's your guy. I've got the Saints edging this one out just a little, just barely making this one out.
I think the Buccaneers are going to get the win, despite this being in New Orleans. I think Derek Carr being out really hurts the Saints a lot, and I think the Buccaneers defense going to be able to do what they need to do, even with Alvin Kamara coming back this week. So I got the Bucs. Alrighty, up next, we've got the Buffalo Bills hosting the Miami Dolphins. The Bills coming off of a blowout win last week over the Commanders, looking like a very, very good football team, contenders to win the division. Not really much else to say, and honestly, same for the Dolphins. Dolphins, big-time blowout win over the Denver Broncos, looking like the favorites to win the division, but these two teams are going to be fighting it out. So this is going to be a really, really big game for both of them in Buffalo. This is going to be a very entertaining game to watch, I think. T-Bone, your thoughts?
It is really going to be an entertaining game. I'm looking forward to it a lot. I think it's going to be a much closer game than the Broncos-Dolphins game. That being said, I think the Dolphins are just more of an electric, more offensive team, and I've got them. Though that I don't think that means that the Bills are going to do bad. I just think that the Dolphins are just so good, and the Bills' defense isn't bad. It's just not good enough. That's about where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Dolphins are just going to have a bit too much firepower for the Bills to handle in this one. Alrighty, up next, we've got the Chicago Bears hosting the Denver Broncos. And before we talk about this game, I would like to sincerely apologize to all football fans throughout the entire world that this game must even exist because... Long story short, this is going to be a game between the two worst teams in the NFL. So, winner basically is crowned who's not the worst team. Both teams suck. Both teams consistently have lost. Blowout losses last week for both. Not much else to say. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is going to be a tough watch. And not the tough watches in tough game. Tough watches and try not to stab my eyes out. Orange on orange, baby. Creamsicles galore. But, no, I've got the Bears. I am not big on the Broncos at all. I think the Bears are bad. I think the Broncos are worse. I've got the Bears.
I actually have the Broncos coming away with a win in this one. This one's honestly tough to predict because both teams are so bad. It's just going to be a matter of who tries to lose harder, and they'll lose. And so I also think the Broncos just desperately need something after what happened last week, and they're just going to want to fight a little harder for it. Alrighty, up next, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Washington Commanders. The Eagles, solid start to year 3-0, coming off of a business-as-usual win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where the defense looked really good. Offense, would like to see a little bit more from them, but overall still a very, very good team. Whereas the Commanders, off to a 2-1 start, although their 2 wins are against 2 of the worst teams in the entire league, so make of that what you will. They're not a very good football team despite their record, and they will be big underdogs heading into Philadelphia. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the Commanders are really... They're not a good football team, even though the record does lie a little bit. Though I think that they can be good, they're going to be underdogs. The Eagles are just going to go to work and be the Eagles. I've got the Eagles.
I have the Eagles winning as well. Commanders did get a bit of a Cinderella win against them last year, but I don't see that happening again. Alrighty, up next we've got the Houston Texans hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Texans coming off of an upset win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. CJ Stroud looking pretty good so far, looking like he might be the guy for Houston. Texans overall have been overperforming what everyone expected of them this year. Now, they're still not a very good football team, but they're better than people expected, whereas the Steelers, everyone expected them to be better. They're not playing up to snuff. Bit fortunate that Josh McDaniels forgot the rules of football and how many points you can score in a drive and stuff last week, but did get a win against an admittedly terrible Raiders team. So they're playing worse than everyone expected them to. Texans are playing better than everyone expected to, and the two teams have kind of met up at the same level of goodness, in my opinion. T-Bone, your thoughts?
I don't know if they're comparable when it comes to skill and goodness, but Texans are definitely overperforming, and Steelers are kind of making missteps here and there. But they are getting wins, and their defense is showing out. I've got that Steelers defense carving up the Texans offense and just coming home with the win.
I think the Steelers are going to be the winners of this matchup as well, although it does have the potential to be very entertaining. Alrighty, up next we've got the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Chargers coming off of a late win over the Minnesota Vikings, where their defense was able to get an interception largely thanks to the fans in Minnesota screwing over their own team. Obviously some questions about Brandon Staley coaching. Chargers did get their first win of the season, though, and it was a much-needed one, whereas the Raiders, coming off of an ugly loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers where they didn't look good at all and still could have won the game if Josh McDaniels knew the rules of football. So this is an advantage Chargers, but divisional matchups, like I say, can get pretty weird. T-Bone, your thoughts?
They definitely can get weird. You have trades sometimes, but no. The loss is in both of their names, which is quite fitting. I have the Chargers completely. Even if Eckler's out, the Raiders are just not good. They're just not a good football team at all. I've got the Chargers.
I've got the Chargers as well. I will note Mike Williams is likely out for the year, so that could also knock a dent into the Chargers. But
ACL tear, I believe. Yeah, I mean, this is honestly going to be a battle for the coaches. I mean, it's just who can coach worse, who can undercoach their team. Really is how I put it, because both McDaniels and Staley are just dog water.
I agree, but I think McDaniels is worse as a head coach, and honestly as a coach overall.
Completely agree.
Alrighty, up next we've got the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Arizona Cardinals. The Niners coming off of a blowout win over the Giants, the team who the Cardinals lost to last week, by the way. And Niners are looking like the best team in the league so far. Not much else to say, whereas the Cardinals looked like they might be the worst team in the league, but they did get a pretty impressive win last week over the Dallas Cowboys. Now, do I expect them to do it twice? No. They're still not a great football team, despite them being the Cowboys and despite them overperforming their expectations. 49ers are going to have the massive advantage, especially with this being in San Francisco. T-Bone, your thoughts?
San Fran wins. I would bet my mortgage on it. San Fran wins every time, even though Josh Dobbs is playing like a pretty solid quarterback. San Fran, the whole way home.
I've got San Francisco too, and you don't have a mortgage, so... Alrighty, up next, we've got the Dallas Cowboys hosting the New England Patriots. The Cowboys coming off of an absolutely humiliating loss to the Arizona Cardinals. A game that they're going to really want to bounce back from. It's not what they wanted to see at all. They're going to need to play better in this one for sure. Whereas the Patriots getting their first win of the season against a not great but good Jets team that have a tough defense to play against. And Patriots have been improving. Each week they've played better than they did the previous week. So I expect them to continue to put it together this week, and honestly, just based off of how 2021's game went, I think this has the potential to be a very, very entertaining, exciting, and close game. T-Bone, your thoughts?
This will be a fun game, but I know who's going to win. It's the Cowboys. They're the better team all around. And even though they did lose to the Cardinals, and they do have Dak Prescott, no, it's Tony time. It's been Tony time. That defense is scary, even without Trayvon Diggs. So no, it's Cowboys all the way.
I've got the New England Patriots winning this one because I got a lot of trust in New England's defense. I think they're going to be able to do what they need to do to shut down Tony Pollard, and Christian Gonzalez going to be able to handle whoever he needs to with the weapons. Overall, New England's defense has looked pretty good and done a good job shutting down some of the best offenses in the league. Another tough challenge, but I think they'll be up to it. So I got the Patriots winning. Alrighty, up next, we've got the New York Jets hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. The Jets coming off of a loss to the New England Patriots at home. An ugly loss where they just got completely outplayed. Offense really wasn't able to do anything against a very good New England defense. And the Chiefs coming off a blowout win over the Chicago Bears. This one's Sunday Night Football. I'm sure if the NFL had a different idea of who the quarterback for the Jets was going to be at the time that they scheduled this game for Sunday night. But I think the Jets defense can make it close, but it's going to be a tough challenge for them against a very good Chiefs team. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Couldn't agree more. If it was Rodgers, it'd be a closer game. It may even be a win. That Jets defense is going to keep them in for a little bit, but in the end, it's Zach Wilson versus Patrick Mahomes, and it's Patrick Mahomes. I got the Chiefs.
I think the Chiefs are going to win this one as well. Alrighty, and finally, for Monday Night Football, we've got the New York Giants hosting the Seattle Seahawks. The Giants coming off of a disappointing loss to the San Francisco 49ers, where they actually did score a few points, which, just based off how they started the season, is a win for them. Weren't expected to win. Honestly, not much to expect for them. They've underperformed this year, but overall they're just not a great football team. Whereas the Seahawks, coming off of a good win over the Carolina Panthers. Offense looked really good. Obviously a few questions on the defense, but I expect them to improve with time. Despite this being in New York, I do think Seattle is favored to win this one. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. Close-ish, though, despite recent events have been what's been happening. I still like Brian Dable. I still like Carroll. I like both teams a lot, though I think Saquon may be out. Saquon may be out. So I've got the Seahawks, just sort of edging it out barely.
I've got the Seahawks as well. Even with Saquon, I still think the Seahawks are the better football team overall. I think they're better on both sides of the ball, and I expect them to go in and get it done like they need to against the Giants.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you all so very much for watching. Please be sure to hit the like button. Please be sure to subscribe, and we will see you all in the next video.